Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Wizard of Wealth. I'm your wizard Lilith, and in today's episode I'm going to talk about a question that I get from everybody. What is an irrevocable trust? Why would someone create something that's irrevocable? And it's really simple actually. Irrevocable trusts protect against two things. They protect against taxes and they protect against lawsuits. In today's episode we're going to talk about taxes, and in another episode I'm going to talk about how irrevocable trusts can be used to protect your assets from lawsuits, right? So as far as taxes go, let me give you an example. Let's say I have $100,000 worth of shares, and I want it so that when I die, I want this $100,000 of shares to go to my kids, all right? And I don't want there to be a probate. I want them to get all of this without having to go through a probate. So by now, you know, you've been listening, that there's something called a revocable living trust, an RLT. The purpose of a revocable living trust is if I put my $100,000 worth of shares in my revocable living trust, then when I die, my kids get the $100,000 of shares from my RLT, and there's no probate. All right, so it's pretty easy. And let's take another example. Let's say this dollar bill is $1 million, okay? I have $1 million of assets. It's my real estate or my life insurance or my cash. And again, I want it so that when I die, my children get all of this $1 million without a probate. So I put the $1 million of assets in my trust, and out comes $1 million for my children. Okay, so pretty simple. But what happens is over time, this $1 million is going to grow, right? So yeah, you know, after a while, the $1 million doubles, it triples, it quadruples. And with a little bit of luck, it is now $10 million, all right? So it's not just $1 million anymore, now it's $10 million, all right? Now the problem is the RLT, and this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. The RLT does not protect against something called the estate tax. You've heard of income taxes, you've heard of capital gain taxes, but an estate tax is a tax that gets paid when I die. And that's right. When I die, there's another tax called the estate tax. And the government takes money away before it goes to my children, let's say. All right? And the government gives us a limit, an amount that you can give to your kids tax-free. But if you give over the limit, then the estate tax comes and takes a big chunk out of your estate. And that's how that works. So the RLT does not protect against the estate tax. This year, the limit of how much I can leave tax-free is almost $13 million, $12.92 million if you're a U.S. person, okay? But in 3 years, the limit is going to come down to $5 million. So let's say that in 3 years, I now have $10 million, and $10 million goes into my RLT. How much of that are my kids going to get if I die when the limit is only $5 million? And as you'll see, my kids are not going to get the full amount through an RLT when there's an estate tax. In fact, they lost half of it in this example to estate taxes. The 10 million became 5 million. All right? So the question is there something we can do while we're alive to avoid the estate tax when we die? And that is one of the reasons why people create irrevocable trust. So let's use some magic. Let's take my magic pen and turn this RLT into an irrevocable trust. And that's it. We've now turned the trust into an irrevocable trust. So now let's say I put $5 million into an irrevocable trust and I pass away. What happens, as you'll see here, is that $5 million suddenly turns into $20 million, okay? $20 million goes to my children because it wasn't subject to estate taxes when I died. That $5 million went into the irrevocable trust. It grew and grew and grew tax-free after I died, and my children or my grandchildren now get the use of more money because there's no estate tax, and it's that simple. All right, so let's go back to another example where, let's say I have my $100,000 worth of shares, if you remember my earlier example. The other good use of an irrevocable trust is if I have a business, if you have a business, You could put shares of your business into an irrevocable trust, sell the business, and not just avoid estate taxes, but also capital gain taxes. For certain businesses and for certain irrevocable trusts, you could put shares into an irrevocable trust, and as you can see here, out comes a lot of tax-free money. In this case, up to $100 million for what started as $100,000 of shares. So irrevocable trusts are really special in that they can help avoid or reduce certain taxes when used the right way. All right? So I hope you learned something. In the next episode, we'll talk more about irrevocable trust. But as I always say, a goal without a plan is just called a wish. We need to stop wishing. We need to start planning. Until then, have a magical day.